Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo! Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and yes, for those who are wondering, I'm okay, family's good, house is good. Hurricane Ida coming through Louisiana. We missed the stream last night. For those that are unfamiliar, we do a live stream on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time in the US every Sunday night to try to answer your questions and go over different things in the game. So we missed that. We are only getting a little bit of, a lot of rain here, but it isn't as crazy as it has been in places like Houma, New Orleans, Laplace, and prayers and thoughts to those places. Yeah, it's just, I know this is a normal occurrence in terms of we're used to hurricanes in Louisiana, but not those of this severity. It was pretty insane. So if you're out there, please keep that in your thoughts and prayers. And if you would be so kind, maybe think about donating to some of the charities and everything that will be helping rebuild the areas that were most heavily affected. So we're going to talk today about a few different things in the game. I do want to encourage you that if you want to catch more live streams, we've got it set now that Sundays and Wednesdays are live stream days on YouTube. So 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Sunday, and then 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on Wednesday, which is noon. That way we can try to make sure that we're getting, more availability to our European and Asian Pacific server player time zones. Now we're also live on Twitch on Monday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, and Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 4 times a week, with other times maybe getting thrown in there. So those who have been asking for a live stream schedule, there it is, both on YouTube and on Twitch. Now Saturdays could come and go because simply sometimes you need a day off. But there you go. A lot have been asking, do we have a set schedule for how we're going to do live streams? And there we are. And assuming nothing crazy happens here towards the end of the storm, and shout out to all those who are in Mississippi right now, and thank you to Scopely for providing the 7-day shield. Hopefully we won't come through this and be able to give you the content that you need this week. But as always, your safety is important. Please let that come first. Obviously not something as simple as a video game, but if this helps keep you distracted, let's jump into our first topic of the day. And we've done a lot of officer videos, and I think it's been a while since we had a singular officer video. Like, we talked about one officer, how he works, and why he's so unique. And it's not that we haven't had the opportunity. And I know that I've talked about some of the, event officers that come out. Like we talked about, Beverly and Pike. Picard, and then comparing that to Pike Moreau and all these other things. Today I want to talk about a car that's been around for a while, and I've been getting many people asking about it in recent weeks. In fact, I actually got somebody asking me about it this morning, and they shot me the screenshot where they were in territory space and they were doing some of their own tests, and then they ran against a sarcophagus. And as you would expect, sarcophagus, it's going to win. It's not necessarily the most amazing ship, but, against a 2.5 million Enterprise, it can win. And the Enterprise not necessarily loaded out badly or anything, but you can see it was at half health. And the sarcophagus is running a crew of Charvinic on the side, Arium, which is going to give you a burning, and then Severus as captain. Now, here's the tricky part of what really had them confused. This right here. Their ship respawned, even though they lost the battle, with 60% health. So in this video, we're going to talk about how that works, why it works, and there's a little bit of, there's several different officers that work in a similar way, but not directly in the way that Severus does. And I'll explain how and why in this video. But you've probably noticed some of this before, where Spock actually works in basically the exact same way. And we've talked about how good Spock is as a character, but we'll cover that here in a second. Basically, we're working from two ends of a spectrum. And we'll also talk about officers like, Kirk and Kumak, and just general stat boosting and things that affect your ship's natural hull and shield ability that then can be changed in a battle, but then reset. So let's start with what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to pull up my Enterprise. So the Enterprise here is its health and defense numbers. Now this is a tier 9 max. We're not worried about it. It could be 400,000, it could be 4,000 hull. It doesn't matter. What you're looking at is finding the base number, or at least the number that we're going into battle with, for hull health and shields. And then the game, when the battle commences, is basically going to take a record of that and say, okay, here's where we're at. This is what we have. That is our natural starting levels of hull and shield. And if nothing affects that, then they stay the same. So if we pull up a battle, and look, I've got a one against an exchange house where we died with a Stella. So you can see the Stella had, like 3% health left. There's nothing in here that does anything about health raising, like a Leslie would, which is another card that we have talked about before. And then there you go. Yeah, it's just straight up normal boom, you died. There's no complications there. So let's talk about Severus and what he does. Now, Severus requires burning to be active, and we're going to have to scroll through a couple different characters here, but here's Severus right up here. I have one. I could upgrade him. I haven't. But if you notice the captain's ability called Spreading Fire, when the ship is burning, your ship, which is very unique, because we talk about why would you want your ship to burn? Why would you want a hull breach on your own ship? But when your ship is burning, Severus decreases the opponent's hull health by 10% each round. Flat 10%. Similar to Yuki. If you remember how Yuki strips the shields 10%, but Yuki doesn't require any type of effect. Yuki as captain just straight strips the shields. Severus requires you to be burning. Your ship, not your opponent. So you wouldn't want to have like a Giorgio or a Nero here. But your ship that's burning will then get a 10% hull health to the opponent's ship every single round. But then the question comes up, so when you have this fight right here and you lose, why does it translate to your ship still being alive? Well, let's cover that here. So when we're taking any type of positive or negative away from the natural state of shields or hull health, what happens is at the end of the battle, that resets. So I don't know if y'all are visual learners or not, but let's just say here I've got Star Trek CCG packs here. So 1 is what we always have. This is your ship. Let's say that we add one, like we just added shields in the battle. So we just made our shields super strong. They're completely regenerating every time we get hit, and they're just getting bigger and bigger. You ever seen those screenshots where the Enterprise has got like 10 million shields? Well, as you saw, my Max Enterprise does not have 10 million shields. That's because in the battle, Spock or the Enterprise's ability kept regenerating those shields and making them bigger and bigger, so it added to them. But when the battle ends, that goes back away and you're left with the original. Now, if you're growing positives over here, so if we're adding positives to it, then it simply resets back to normal. It goes back to 1. But now we're talking about Severus doing the opposite. So what Severus is doing is, I guess you could call it unnaturally taking away. So Severus is coming from the opposite side and unnaturally taking away hull health. So it's going to very quickly drain this. But at the end of the battle, this falls away and it resets. So what is happening and what they're seeing in this battle is that 60% that he lost gets injected back into the ship after battle. So you lose it in the battle, but because it was a, weird, how would you even describe that? Because it was an outside of the normal bonus, took it away, it gets re-added after the fact, after the battle. So then you end up with this right here on the screen where the ship is back up and going, even though it just got into a fight because of Severus's ability. Now, as you can imagine, this could definitely be used for nefarious purposes. I'm not going to tell you how, but you can use your imagination. So Severus does work, and he's not broken. This is how all officers of this type work in one direction or the other, where if you've noticed Leslie will artificially regenerate your hull continually, but if you lose more than your hull's amount. Now I'm adding layers to this. So go back to the visual aid. So Leslie adds to your hull, right? And hull is where it gets tricky because shields, all losing shields does is mean you take more hull damage. So if you add shields with Spock and lose them, it's no big deal. But when you do anything to hull, it's a big deal. So when Leslie, this is your hull, adds to it, and let's say you still took 2,000% or 200% damage. This one has to take all that damage at some point. So even though Leslie artificially raised your hull health, at the end of the battle, Leslie's gone, but you still took the same amount of damage. So at the end of the battle, you go poof, even though you won. Severus is now doing the same thing, but from the opposite side, unnaturally pulling away, so that has to be added back when the battle ends. Now, whether that's an efficient system is kind of up for you to debate in the comment section below, and I encourage you to do so. And this is something that you've noticed a lot more with shields, but it doesn't have as big of effect as hull. So if Leslie unnaturally adds to hull, then Severus unnaturally takes away. And in the same regard, they both have the same problem. Leslie can keep you going and help you win something solo that you might not have been able to before because you get the extra hull regeneration, especially with synergy. However, once he dies, you typically are going to die too. Not always, but generally, because you're limited to that one bit of hull health. And if you take more damage than that hull health, if you take 101% of your hull's damage, you're dead. You're dead. Even if he added another 30, 40 million percent. Severus is the same way. Everything he takes away to win the battle gets given back. Now we can debate, once again, whether that's good or not, and I encourage you to below. If you've never seen this before, well, now you know. And if you appreciate the video, hit the like button. Yeah, because that helps out. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Share this out with your friends, your alliance, your neighbors, your spaceman, whatever. Appreciate it. Live long and prosper. Stay safe, other space cowboys. We'll catch you on the next video. Deuces. That's me. An even better outro than the intro. Yeah! Woo!